to the Third Pint Theory, episode 4, with myself, Michael Donaldson, the editor of Pursuit of Hoppiness magazine, and with me is...
And myself, Martin Bridges, also known as the Beer Bigwig.
I love it. And one day, for people who don't know Martin, we might make him stand up so you can see that he actually is a very big fella.
I always get that when I meet people that I've only ever met on a Teams call or a Zoom call. They look much taller than when you're sat down. Yeah. It's like, yep. That's true.
He's a very tall man. All right, tall man with tall stories. We've been off for we probably didn't quite hit 4 weeks in a row, but that's all right. We didn't promise that. And we're here on. We're actually recording this on a Friday afternoon, so we thought we'd have a beer. And Martin, you've got an award-winning beer in your hand.
I do. I know. I think we talked the other week, or one of the earlier episodes, about it being kind of awards season, and one of the key parts of awards season in the New Zealand beer industry is the Smith's New Zealand IPA Challenge, held at Smith's Bar in Queenstown every year, and this year was the 10th, I think.
Yeah,
the 10th
I
anniversary.
lost track of that. Yep.
And I have in my glass here the winning beer, which I don't know if we can see. If anybody's looking at this on YouTube, you can see that this is the Duncan's Brewing Research Chemical. Chemical with
yes.
K, New Zealand IPA, which took out the top spot to some surprise. I think,
especially to them.
Yeah, I think because I think you were saying, Michael, in the magazine that Duncan's have this kind of infamy for their pastry sours and pastry stouts, and here they came roaring in with an absolutely spot on New Zealand IPA.
So George Duncan said to me, "We're not known for brewing IPAs, and they do have the occasional ones, and they're very good. And they're probably their best known IPAs are." Slightly concocted. There's the Juniper IPA, and probably the other well-known one is that milkshake IPA. It escapes me now.
The Whippy,
but
the Whippy. I had one last night.
Sorry,
I had one last night. The
Whippy IPA. That's it. Yeah. And so to do a straight IPA and do it exceedingly well is sort of outside their remit a little bit. So it's
I've judged at the Smiths competition a couple of times in the past. I didn't do this year. It's a serious judging panel, This is it's all taken very seriously. So for them to come out on top, this was definitely the best beer on the day.
I think it's phenomenal, and it's got, as you said, it's a research chemical with chemical spelled with a K. And Chem being Kem Eggers, who runs Eggers Hops, where they grow the Eggers Special, which is a Riwaka kind of cross hop. And as George was saying, it's like Riwaka, but with more. And they've combined it with Riwaka in that beer. And it's just a great density of flavour in there. It's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, and very clearly a kind of New Zealand. I think it has that. There's some of that tropical fruit. There's the hint of that kind of slightly diesely dankness to it, which I think is just screams kind of New Zealand hops. I'm really impressed, and it beat out a couple of kind of more traditional IPA breweries in Batch and 8 Wide, who came in second and third. So I think all power to them.
Great result. And the batch beer is called Bedford, and it's bizarrely styled as a West Coast New Zealand IPA. I'm all for style.
Kind of a grey mouth IPA.
And 8 Wide had a double hazy called Mega Flora. It's when Parrot Dog took the People's Choice. Not surprising because they'd won it 2 years previously. So I think people expect good things from them. And but it's a great competition and great that it's been going for 10 years. And I just think New Zealand IPAs as well are getting better and better. More of their own identity and, just amazing flavors that don't rely on American hops, which you traditionally expect to have in an IPA. So, yeah.
And really interesting as well to see that the shift, I think, back towards clear IPAs.
It's happening.
Because I think in the years that I've been involved with that competition, it kind of started off with a lot of clear beers and very few hazies. Kind of the hazies pretty much took over for a while, and now it seems to be kind of shifting back the other way. It's an interesting kind of snapshot of where we're at.
I do think I saw some data recently that indicated that in supermarkets anyway, hazies were in a slight decline, coming off a very high peak. But speaking of Riwaka hops, I have got in my hand the rebrew for the 30th anniversary of Emerson's Pilsner. And they've done a beautiful job recreating the original label. It's good that they were able to find that artwork lying around in the brewery. And I would like to say that this is one of the best beer investments that I have made for a very long time. I wish I'd ordered more. It's absolutely delicious.
I've heard so many good things about that beer, and I am extremely jealous that that's in your glass because I don't have any, and I haven't had any yet. So I will have to go in search of some this weekend, I think, because I've heard from extremely knowledgeable people like yourself and others that this is an early favourite for beer of the year amongst some people. So I think it's one to track down. So at the weekend, I had a great weekend. I'm as regular listeners might be able to tell, I'm just getting over a cold. But possibly the reason I got the cold was I went to a beer festival, and not just any beer festival. I went to the inaugural Bruxelles Oamaru, apparently, which is I was instructed was the right way to say it. Run by Kraftwerk Brewery in Oamaru, and it was an amazing weekend. It was an awesome weekend. I will not say too much about it because it may become the subject of its own podcast episode. But it was just such a good weekend. It was about only about 200 people, and some great Belgian style beers from around about 8 or 9 different breweries across New Zealand. You should have been there, Michael.
I should have. Yeah, I'm already hoping that they'll do it again next year.
They have said that they will, but I think it was a lot of work for them. I hope that maybe they will get some help next time. But it was outstanding. Outstanding it was.
Yeah. Look, I am insanely jealous, and a lot of people I know were there. But yes, having just moved house and everything, I just didn't feel like going on a trip down south quite so soon afterwards. So yes. Anyway, look, I look forward to. We're hopefully going to build an episode out of your visit down there. So yeah.
But it was really good to sit down with Leanne and Michael from Craftwork and record an interview in their tap room. And talking of recording interviews with brewers in their tap room, look at that for a segue. We're into the meat of this episode. And you've got the right glass for it, Michael,
yes.
which our YouTube viewers will be able to see. Is an awesome Tigermilk IPA glass here. So I took a trip down to Hastings in the Hawke's Bay and sat down with Matt and Gemma from Brave Brewing in their tap room to talk about their journey, how they got to where they are. We spent quite a long time talking about Tigermilk. It's their flagship beer, one of my favourites of all time, and some really fascinating stuff I think you will find in this interview.
Yeah, I've had a sneak peek, of course, and the story about, and I won't reveal too much, but about their bottles and the bottling plant in particular and how they came to get that it's a real gem.
It is.
I think Matt has told me that story before, but it was just really good to hear it again and to hear sort of Gemma's. Sorry to interrupt, but you're not telling this story properly.
Yeah,
women are so much better at this kind of thing, really, aren't they? Anyway, it's a great story. So yeah, we'll hand it over to you, Matt and Gemma, in the Brave Brewing tap room.
Welcome. It's nice to be down here in the Hawke's Bay and to have a chat with you today. So. I think we'll kick this off if you kind of introduce yourselves, and then we'll rock into a bit about the brewery.
Yeah, cool. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to come down. I'm Matt. This is my wife Gemma. So we co-own Brave Brewing Company. We're sort of 10 years into this now. It's definitely been a journey, James.
It sure has, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty wonderful one, but not without its challenges, yeah.
So what was the trigger? What started what started the journey?
Yeah, so I was like a lot of brewers, sort of started out as a passionate, slightly obsessive home brewer. I went, I think probably, about 20 years ago now, took a trip through America, working on a music festival, the Vans Warped Tour. A friend of mine heard this dodgy racket selling, just like before smartphones, selling disposable cameras.
Right, okay, I remember those.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a while. But I met a lot of cool people who were, really into beer, sort of before you would call it craft beer. There was lots of brew pubs around, and after each day on the tour, they'd all go to a brewery and get the tasting flights and sort of geek out on it. And I found it just super interesting. So coming back to to New Zealand, Gemma and I were living in Mount Eden at the time, so Galbraith's Ale House, which has a big place in my heart.
Just celebrated its 30 years.
So cool.
Pretty amazing, eh? So we were sort of frequent visitors there, and noticed the brew kit and sparked my interest and learned that I could make beer at home, and had a couple of goes at making kit brews and decided they were awful and just went straight to all grain.
Mm-hmm.
But I had this real cool living situation. Myself and a bunch of mates had this flat on Dominion Road. It was kind of like an old nurses' quarters managed by the council there.
Okay.
So there was like 4 flats with this shared courtyard in the middle and a shared laundry room. So I kind of set up the laundry as my homebrew spot. I had a kegerator in there and koha jar on top. So I was able to pump out just like heaps of brews, and everyone would come out to the courtyard and help me get through the kegs so I can move through it like pretty quickly and hone my skills.
That's always the thing, because I was homebrewing probably around the same time. We probably bumped into each other in homebrew circles back in the day. But that was one of the biggest problems for me was having too much beer. You know, it was like you wanted to constantly be doing new things, but you still had to drink 20 litres of the last thing.
Yeah,
for sure.
So that sounds like a really good setup.
It was awesome. Yeah, and I think a lot of brewers have quite an obsessive personality, so just like being able to make beer after beer after beer and have that help from the mates to get through it was really good.
And it was that was a big part of the community aspect of the living context, was getting together to have a beer in that shared courtyard. So it was quite nice. You're bringing people together through beer then, and you're bringing people together through beer now at the tap room. It's really nice.
So what then? Probably at that time, because I was amongst all that kind of homebrew crowd. There was a lot of people who were like, "Oh, I could do this professionally," and there were people who did. I remember swapping beers with Stu McKinley, who became Yeasty Boys, with Joe Wood, who became Liberty, with Mike Nielsen, who became Panhead. You know, what then went? Oh, I could do this.
Yeah, that's such a good question. And I think still to this day, I have a little bit of like imposter syndrome about whether or not like I'm the man for the job. But I guess, well, for one, all those sober homebrew competitions that I remember you being pretty involved with, doing quite well in those.
And which year did you win Champion Homebrewer?
2013. So by that point, Gemma and I had plans to move back to Hawke's Bay, and we grew up here, spent about 10 years in Auckland, but both of our families are still here. So after 10 years up there, when I had this fanciful idea of starting a brewery, we thought, well, let's come home to Hawke's Bay, and where we have supportive friends and family, and try it there. So
there were like quite a few factors in wanting to come back here specifically to start the business as well. Just a lot of it around, having that family and friend support, but also just in terms of cost to get started. Like, we don't come from a lot of money, so we needed to make sure it would be achievable and done in a like natural and organic way. But just even moving back here, we were able to buy our first home, and our mortgage was significantly less than what we were paying for rent in Auckland at the time. So it just felt a lot more achievable. Yeah,
for sure.
And I guess also you in Auckland, you're in a very competitive market.
That's right.
There's a bunch of other breweries that aren't down here.
That's right.
There isn't a lot. There's I guess Giant in Havelock North. And
so there's a few of us that started at around the same time. Zayland Brewery, who's sadly not here anymore due to the cyclone a few years ago. They were about a year before us, I believe.
Giant was almost exactly at the same
Yeah,
time.
and then God's Own Brewery. I'm not sure if you've heard of them. They're a really cool little brewery. They're out rural Maraikakahu. Yeah.
Okay.
They've got sort of a lifestyle business. They just opened during the summertime. Cool little 800-litre brew kit, and they make really lovely sort of German-style beers. And the farming community out there, all the locals get really behind it and up out there on the weekends. But so it's sort of
And there's Hawke's Bay Independent Brewery.
That's right, yeah. And Roosters been around for decades.
Hasn't Roosters still going?
Yeah,
still going. I remember going to Roosters when I came down like 15 years ago, and they'd been going a while then.
Yeah.
So
they're pretty OG.
Man.
Yeah.
I didn't realise they were still here. Well, that's good to know. So you moved back down here. You decided.
He decided after studying sound and audio engineering, politics and sociology that he was going to become a brewer.
That sounds like the fairly standard route.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So a lot of like distraction from the home brewing during my studying, but I managed to pass all that and then move on to the brewing. But 2013 we were back here. That was a year that we thought we'd like really lean into trying to start the brewery, and coincidentally I won that 2013 national homebrew competition.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a very nice sort of reassurance that maybe the beer's all right. Maybe it's not just all our mates back in Auckland telling us it was good. And so we sort of inspired by people like Joe Wood and it was Baylands Brewery who had managed to start breweries in their home garages.
Oh, yep.
We looked at a few commercial sites and had a bit of a misfire with one of them that I leased and then sort of got cold feet and had a like pretty serious panic and managed to claw my way out of that lease and chew through probably like a good quarter of our startup capital getting out of that. But it's sort of fun to remember these things in hindsight that it's easy to forget everything you've been through when you're where you're at now.
Yes.
But anyway, we sorted that out. I think we sat on it for about 3 or 4 months and then plucked up the courage again to kit the home garage out under the home occupation zoning laws. You can start a commercial brewery in your home garage.
Okay.
And we had a very helpful council who sort of assisted in that. Yeah, it was really interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, and maybe that's another advantage of kind of being longer down here.
Yeah.
I think that, it doesn't sound like something that Auckland Council would do.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
No, and I mean, when I'd heard about it, I thought that was like crazy talk that you could do that in your home garage. But like looking back, it was actually easier doing that than it was moving into our first commercial space.
Yes.
Right.
Which was a couple of years later, just on the outskirts of town here. It was an industrial building, but it was zoned as large format retail rather than industrial. So we had to go through this crazy resource consent process to put the brewery into a, pretty well, set up industrial fit for purpose building, whereas doing it in a home garage was
Piece of cake.
pretty easy. Yeah.
Sweet. So that was kind of 2015?
2013, we kind of started setting it up. Into mid to late 2014, we sold the first case of beer to a local bar here, the Common Room.
Mm.
All right. Yeah.
And we began our journey at the Hawke's Bay Farmers Market. I'm not sure if you visited
I
it on a
did.
Sunday. It's pretty well regarded nationwide, I think, as one of the better farmers markets in the country. Lots of beautiful little producers here in Hawke's Bay, and the market actually took us by surprise in terms of how successful it was. Even just based on our sales at the market alone, like selling bottles, but we'd also take a kegerator, set up and pour and fill flagons. So then we built a bit of a clientele who would come every Sunday with their bottles to refill each week,
nice.
which was great. But we were also able to make lots of really meaningful connections with bar owners, bar managers, people that ran supermarket liquor sections and things like that. So surprisingly, it was an amazing outlet in terms of connecting with people and sharing our beer. Far and wide, really, because a lot of people travel from out of town into the region here in Hawke's Bay. So we met lots of foodies and beer writers, bar owners, all sorts of people. It was great.
Oh, that's such a cool. That's a different. Yeah, you don't necessarily think of that as a channel to
it was totally
engage.
Surprising. Yeah,
and I know that I remember the Madakana Farmers Market up in Auckland and Sawmill were very, very present there back in the day, back in the previous owners when they used to have a stall there, and that was really cool.
Yeah,
but I know that the Hawke's Bay Market is legendary. So
that was good fun too. There was a good sort of like bartering system going on post market. We'd be able to do like half our grocery shopping, just sort of swapping beers with all the other stall holders, and it was a real cool way to spend a Sunday morning. I sort of miss it really, but it just got a bit much after a while, so we let it go.
So then, how long have you been in this tap room?
We've been in here for 4 years. And before that, we had another space just on the outside of town here, which was our first little tap room. We started that in, I think it was January 2017. So that was our sort of stepping stone from the home garage into a proper commercial space with a little salad door and tap room, which we really sort of changed the trajectory of our business. We thought that would be opening this little chilled out, salad door where maybe a few beer geeks would come in and try some beers here and there, and would be able to yarn to them about the beer and get a few off license sales or whatever. But it sort of rapidly turned into a pretty bustling like Friday night spot, and we quickly had to learn how to be hospitality people and how to manage staff and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, it was a big learning curve. But again, we were not expecting that to be as successful as it was in terms of becoming a really busy space for the local community to come and have some pints on a Friday. And the building was absolutely not equipped to like house that many. It was tiled floors, and it was like a goldfish bowl with heaps of glass, and the acoustics were horrific. And I just remember working the bar on a Friday night, and people would be trying to order their beers, and you just could not hear just because of the sound and how many people were in there. But people loved it. It was crazy, and they loved the busyness and the vibe and the culture of it all. But we quickly realised that obviously there was a gap in the market here in Hastings for a neighbourhood brewery, tap room, eatery setup where people could come and drink good beer and be together.
That community aspect of it, I think, is really important. And I was in here last night, and I was it was busy, and it was a Sunday night in the middle of winter, and I thought I was quite surprised. But I was saying that the mix of clientele was really surprising. This was not a room full of beer geeks. This was everybody, kids, dogs outside. It was a really good cross section.
It's lovely,
people.
And that was a big part of our ethos, and what we've always wanted to create was a place that everyone felt welcome in. And you see that across, we open on Wednesday, we close on a Sunday, and the amount of people and the diversity of crowds that come through, it's just so cool.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, there's a real sense of connectedness and belonging for so many people. On a Friday, you'll see councillors, lawyers, tradies, young families with their children. Like it's a real mix. And it's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, we quickly learned that there's a lot more people, like there's people who are really into craft beer and supporting, specifically small craft breweries. But then there's just this whole huge other group of people who may not necessarily be, super into like craft beer necessarily, but they do have a big passion for supporting a cool local business and just having like a neighborhood spot that's run by local people that makes your own product, and they'll really get behind that. Even just with the beer list, like we didn't used to make a lager. We were buying guest lager beers, and our top selling beers were always like Tigermilk and then a lager. And just realized, what are we doing here? Like, we can
quickly pivoted and quickly established our own lager, which is again now one of our biggest sellers alongside the Tigermilk. So
it always is. Hey, whenever anybody, I don't know. I was saying this to somebody just the other night that we've kind of the number of people getting into beer has kind of exploded, and there's lots of people, but still fundamentally, if you have a bar, you've got to have a lager, because people walking in off the street that's kind of where they go.
Absolutely. And just not everyone wants a big giant double IPA. They want a crushable lager.
To start with. Cool. Yeah. So I think I wanted to I do want to talk about Tigermilk. We will come back to talk about Tigermilk, absolutely, because it is very high on my list of favourite beers. But I wanted to talk about, obviously this is the taproom's a big outlet for you, and a lot of kind of keg product go through here. But you do, you are one of a very small number of breweries who still stick beer in bottles.
So that
there is a why, but I'd be interested because I remember you always used to have the very distinctive
Emerson's bottle,
the Emerson's bottle.
Yeah,
that was it.
We're still really, really fond of and miss. Sadly, it got discontinued, so we had to switch. But the bottling thing, I guess there's a few different facets to it. So we got our first packaging line in 2019. We stepped up from, the little like Williams one counter pressure bottle fillers. So I think for probably like 5 years, I was filling every single bottle, one of those. That's
a lot of work.
It is, and a lot of RSI, store risks, because you got to open one valve to gas it, close that, open the other valve to fill with beer, close that, shift it over to the crowner. So you just got using all your joints and over again all day. But it's one of those things that we had to do to get where we are. But we had just expanded from our little 300 litre kit up to a 1200, and the bank was sort of saying, that's all your funding. We can't really help you much further at this point. So we stuck with this, what seemed at the time like a ginormous brewing system, and still the little Williams one fillers. But we had this incredible moment where one of our
angel on a bicycle.
One of our regular customers who we hadn't actually met before. He rocked up. He just appeared at our roller door.
Well, he had been. Sorry to interrupt. He had been coming quite regularly to the tap room, but we were obviously quite busy with the production and stuff. Matt was busy on the bottler. But he had been coming regularly and drinking and enjoying our beer, but also in the old tap room, there was this little nook where you could go and sit on a leaner and watch the brew team, which was Matt at the time, do his thing. And he would perch there and watch Matt, and then one day he came up.
Yeah, so he just rocked in and introduced himself and just said, "Hey, I hope you don't mind, but I've been watching what you're doing, and I think it's absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. He's like, I've just been bequeathed all this money, and I really want to help you. And so he offered to finance a bottling line for us at the time, very generous terms, which by the end of it turned into no interest at all, which is incredible. But so we ended up with this beautiful guy, Italian four-head automatic bottling line. So we went from the two-head Williams one ganged two of them together to really was and still is state-of-the-art Italian bottling line. And that, just changed our whole business. We were able to start doing 330ml bottles into restaurants.
Right.
We never bothered with small bottles previously. To fill that many 330ml bottles on the little Williams one thing, just not really an option.
Unsustainable.
But at the time, I think that was just maybe right at the start of the canning kind of boom, or a few breweries were starting to put beer into cans. And at the time we thought about it, and we were, I understand all the arguments for it, and agree with it for the most part. But we had a whole bunch of winery restaurants being here in Hawke's Bay.
Right.
And then a lot of sort of, fine dining kind of places that stocked our beer, and they really pushed back on cans.
Okay.
So that was sort of one aspect. We didn't want to sort of upset that sort of new growth that we had just got in our business from that transition to the new packaging line. So we stuck with that for a while, and then of course a year later COVID hit.
Oh yeah.
And that brought with it all the sort of uncertainty and financial concerns. We had just signed the lease on this building, which was a massive financial step for us. A big sort of leap of faith, really. And we were in no position to sort of be messing with something that wasn't broken and taking the risk on, trying to sell a bottling line to buy a canning line. And so we just stuck with that for a few years. And I think now it's just got into that point where it's sort of become part of our identity. I don't know. I think maybe there's just some kind of old world charm and seeing the bottles sitting alongside the sea of cans in the supermarket, and maybe along with that iconic sort of, talk about Tigermilk soon, but the tiger cow on our Tigermilk label, it's just sort of suits the bottle. It goes hand in hand, and like I said, I think it just got to the point where it just seems strange to move away from that. There's still that financial aspect. It's a lot of money to buy a canning line. We've got this beautiful bottling line sitting here, and it's working really well. So I don't see too much sense in trying to mess with that and go through the logistics of changing all of our packaging, all of our foodstuffs, SAP codes, and all that stuff. So we're just rolling with it, really.
It does kind of feel quite satisfying, almost. It's like being the last man standing there.
Yeah.
It is interesting. It must come with some downsides. I guess as you say, the Emerson's bottles are gone.
Yeah, they got decommissioned, and we also just had the bottle that we had switched to after the Emerson's finishing up. Also decommissioned.
Both of those occasions happened with very little warning in the summertime. So
that's not good.
No warning in the summertime, and we had also bought thousands of our 12 by 500ml boxes to suit a certain bottle, and then it was a bit of a bummer. We'd sort of been guaranteed that there'd be good supply of a certain bottle, and then all of a sudden there was not. So little challenges that we've had to move through.
Yeah, just roll with the punches, eh?
Yeah.
But I think it does stand out. The only problem I have is that my fridge at home, the shelf space, it just fits a 440 ml can in it just nicely. So I have to lie the bottles down.
Yeah. We do laugh sometimes when we see magazine, there's all the cans lined up and then our bottles.
Yeah.
Just messing with the aesthetic, really. Sitting up really tall. And like you say, it doesn't fit in the fridge. Yeah. We hear that. We actually get a lot of people messaging us just completely unsolicited, like, come on, guys, when are you going to get into cans? It's so funny. People are very opinionated about the can. They want to see Tigermilk in a tin. We should probably just do just for a laugh, just a run of Tigermilk tins one day.
The danger is, though, everybody will be like, finally. I think good on you for sticking with your with your convictions on that. I think it's they do stand out, and there is still a time when a bottle is a good thing,
Yes, that's the old world charm that you're talking about too. It sort of feels nice, doesn't it?
I think we're pretty lucky at our scale as well. We're not sort of chasing big supermarket distribution or anything like that. I think if we were to step into that, it'd be a bit of a challenge carrying on with the bottles. So I imagine we'll get a bit more pushback from the supermarkets.
And we're not totally against changing one day.
Yeah. What's the kind of the split between your kind of packaged and draft?
It's probably about, I imagine, 60% kegs and 40% package. We do most of our packaged is local bars and restaurants and a bit of retail. We do have Woolworths and foodstuffs, but it's all direct ship, so there's no distribution centre stuff. Right. It's just like a couple of cases per order shipped direct to a store. So not a huge scale, but just a really nice little thing that ticks along, and we're able to send beer just super fresh from here straight to the supermarket and not worry about it sitting around in a warehouse for too long.
Yeah, my local Woolworths has Tigermilk, so that's my. Unfortunately, I think they display ambient. Just like there's this big beer fridge that you like walk in beer fridge you've got there and bottles stood on the shelf outside.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
I think that's unfortunately it's I don't want to kind of take a tangent into kind of large supermarket stuff, but I find in general that the new worlds seem the foodstuffs supermarkets seem to be a little bit more switched on to keeping beer cold than the
it does seem that way. Although to be fair, I have heard that Woolworths are shifting all of their craft into chilled.
That would be good.
I believe from next year, so that's a cool step. Foodstuffs is they seem a bit more relaxed. Store to store, they've got a bit more freedom to do what they want. Whereas Woolworths is all controlled from the office, so
centralized. Talking of me being able to get Tigermilk in Woolworths in Browns Bay, Tigermilk is legendary. Is in the New Zealand beer market, I think. I love it. West Coast IPA is kind of my go-to style. And the thing I've said to people quite a lot is that Tigermilk is the best core range IPA in New Zealand at the moment. And that's really
thank you.
My entirely my own opinion. But this is I'm recording this podcast, so I can say that.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Where did it come from? What was the inspiration? What can you tell us about it?
Thank you. I was very humbled by hearing people in the industry being so fond of it. It's really cool. But Tigermilk, it's real interesting because ironically, I kind of designed that beer. When I designed that beer, I took inspiration from reading about beers on the East Coast of the US. So this is like sort of before hazies were a big thing, but I'd read about these beers being like really, really soft, not too bitter, highly aromatic. So I sort of designed Tigermilk in that way. So it was, at the time, like a lot softer, a lot less bitter, a little bit lighter in color than your classic sort of West Coast IPA from 10 years ago. I was looking earlier today when Tigermilk was launched. It was 2016, so going on 9 years now. So we launched that in 2016 as like a limited release beer alongside of, I did about 3 IPAs one summer at the farmers market, just to kind of test waters and see what stuck. And Tigermilk was one that people sort of kept coming back to and requesting. We did I think it was 2019, Gemma, we did a big rebrand alongside the packaging line and brought Tigermilk into our core range. Just when our designers, you might want to be able to talk a bit more about that, Gems.
Yeah, so as part of the rebrand, just solidifying our logo and then locking in label designs for all of those core range beers. We worked with our good friends and very talented designers, Steve and Jill, who have a company called Parkby Projects, and they're Tauranga, the Mount based. And Tigermilk, adding that in. Obviously, we talked a lot around what it would look like, what would the imagery be, and thus the famous tiger cow was born. And we often talk about how I think that imagery has actually contributed a lot to the success of the beer. I mean, the beer speaks for itself. It's a very good IPA. People love it. But for some reason, I think this endearing tiger cow, cow with tiger stripes, has captured the hearts and minds of people. I don't know. We stick that tiger cow on anything. You're drinking from a coffee mug at the moment with it. We've got socks, we've had hats, we've had T-shirts, and anything we stick that IPA cow onto it, it sells out like in an instant.
I have the hat.
I love it. Yeah, so you arrived in the hat. So cool. And we see these things actually. We get people sending us images and they're in London or they're like in Egypt looking at bloody pyramids and someone's walking by in a Tigermilk T-shirt. It's so funny. We just get these messages from people all over the world and they're wearing a Tigermilk IPA T-shirt, which is still very surreal to us because I don't know, we're just like a young couple from Hastings started a brewery and now there's people wearing the T-shirt or talking about the beer in different countries around the world, which is, so bewildering, but really cool.
Yeah, it is pretty strange, but very cool. We're like, as small business owners, 2 young children, growing the business organically, we've always been like very tied down. Not a whole lot of spare time to sort of get out and do a lot of industry type stuff. So it's quite cool to see how much reach it gets, based on the resources that we have, I guess, and the time that we have.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I think it's such an awesome brand and it's picked up, but I think it has only gathered that momentum. I would only sustain that momentum because of the quality of the beer that sits behind it. I think. So, what can you divulge any secrets about what's the makeup of Tigermilk?
I think there's an old homebrew recipe floating around somewhere. So there's nothing too secret about it. But like I say, I sort of tried to design it to be a little bit softer and a bit more approachable than your classic, really bitter West Coast IPA. It's pretty simple. Pilsner malt, ale malt, tiny bit of toffee malt. We ferment it nice and dry. It's a blend of Citra, Mosaic, and Centennial. So I always really like the idea of having like a classic, like really like citrusy, grapefruity hop sitting alongside those really like modern sweet fruit, like highly aromatic hops. I think it just gives it a sort of like very complementary to each other and amplifies the flavors of the others.
One of the catchphrases on the back of the bottle says that it's bold but affectionate, which I think is such a good description of it. That people often talk about how it's, it's 6.6% ABV, but it's so, delicate. It's very drinkable and quaffable. But we have to actually educate people around that, because at that ABV we get people coming in wanting to have successive pints of the stuff, but nearly 2.5 standard drinks per pint in that. So, you have to be careful, otherwise the Tigermilk will catch you off guard.
Yeah. And I've seen that. So you've done variants. There have been variants of Tigermilk.
A hazy tiger, and a double tiger.
Yeah. So put a shameless like piggybacking on the Tigermilk brand there, but Tiger Milkshake, that was a fun one. We we're not big on hazies here, or certainly like lactose IPAs or anything like that. But there's always a time and place for playing around and having some fun. So we got some, what was it, like local peach puree, some lactose, and sort of riffed on the Tigermilk recipe, and made our first milkshake IPA. It was all right. I think there was like the die-hard sort of Tigermilk fans that really enjoyed it, but probably not something we'll rush to do again. Hazy Tiger, that was a popular one. But I think maybe Centennial isn't so flash in a hazy beer, or at least not in my experience. So
did you stick pretty much to the Tigermilk recipe and with the hazy version?
I did, yeah. I soon realized that I had to like massively wind down the bittering edition, and even the Leighton Whirlpool. We had to knock back quite a bit, because it was, all that bitterness fighting with all the polyphenol that you get from the hazy IPAs. It didn't work so good, so we had to tweak that quite a bit in subsequent batches.
Yeah, because there's been a few breweries who've done kind of like hazy versions of classic IPAs, and there are a couple of those. I won't mentioning no names that appeared to have very little actual relationship to the original beer. It was like it was the name,
gotcha.
But it was like if I did a side by side of a couple, and thought, can't actually see the common thread between these two beers. So it's interesting that you did that. I didn't try. I wasn't in the area for when a Hazy Tiger was around. And to be honest, I'm not a big hazy fan.
Yeah.
So, but I would have probably given it a go. Just to see. And what I did enjoy, what I really enjoyed, was the anniversary. Version.
Double dry.
So the double dry hop version, which I think, as I do the in the Pursuit of Hoppiness magazine, we always do the beers of the year, and because of print deadlines, I did my beers of the year for 2024, like in about late October, early November, and I think it came out.
October.
After that. So I think it might fall into the 2025 beers of the year, but it's definitely on my shortlist.
Yeah,
because and the thing I enjoyed about it, I don't know what it was about the double dry hop version. So the double dry hop version came up for your 10th anniversary.
It was,
I actually got more bitterness, which is
odd, given that it was extra dry hop.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We it wasn't like literally double, but I think once we factored in like a whole bunch of additional cryo hops that we put in there alongside the T90, once you sort of convert that ratio out, it was pretty close to double. But yeah, it was a good lesson, I guess, in how much perceived bitterness you get from loading that much more hop matter into the fermenter. I think if I did it again, and maybe we'll relook at it this year, we'll utilize like some of the more advanced hop products. There was no sort of hot oil addition in there or any of those fancy flowable things that we're a bit more familiar with now. So
have a play with this
that's
year.
a way that we can beef up that dry hop without adding too much extra sort of plant matter and adding all that extra sort of chewy, grassy polyphenol that it affects your bitterness perception a lot.
But we did really enjoy releasing that as an anniversary special release, and we have plans to hopefully do that again and again. Yeah.
Well, next year you've got the 10th anniversary of Tigermilk.
Which we only just realised. Planning to chat to you. Yeah, Matt saw that, so that'll be a big one. Yeah, that's exciting. Tigermilk has become a beast. It really caught us by surprise. Sometimes it's a little bit painful. I think it's like we discussed earlier. It's a very expensive beer to make and higher ABV. We probably would have hoped for our flagship to be something a little bit less,
Yeah, but it's just one of those things we can't fight, really. There are a few occasions in the past I've thought, shall we try to wind down the ABV a little bit, or make it a bit more of a flagship friendly beer, but we always come back to probably shouldn't be messing with something that's doing very well. And
exactly.
I'm sure there'll be a few people fairly upset if we...
You don't want to kill the sacred...
No. It's terrifying.
The sacred tiger cow.
But it is pretty amazing having a product that is so consistent in its sales. We make it twice every single week, double batch it. It's probably about 60% of our production, I'd say.
That for a 6.6% IPA, that's impressive.
Yeah, for sure.
And probably for about the first 6 years of doing business, we would run out of Tigermilk every summer, which was like super painful because it was frustrating for our customers, and it was frustrating for us, knowing obviously in the peak, that busy season, how much more of it we could have potentially sold. But we've worked really hard on production capabilities and efficiencies. And for the last two Christmases, we've come pretty close, but not quite sold out, which is really exciting. Like we've had enough to service all of the demand. I had actually someone cry to me over the bar one year, about 4 years ago, and we'd moved here, and she was trying to buy her husband a 6-pack of Tigermilk because that's all he wanted for Christmas. And she had missed the boat, came in on Christmas Eve, and there was absolutely none left. It was devastating.
That is, that's commitment.
It is. We've had people that come into the tap room for Tigermilk. It doesn't happen anymore, like we said, because we generally always have it in stock now. But they would look at the 12 taps and, there's no Tigermilk, turn around and walk out again. It's like there's 12 other lovely beers to try, but it's a weird thing.
Yeah, it's sort of taken a life of its own. Like there's people out there who in Hawke's Bay who I've come across who are familiar with Tigermilk as a brand, but maybe don't know who Brave Brewing Company is. So it's sort of got that reputation, I guess.
Tigermilk ate the brewery.
Tigermilk Brewing Co.
Man.
Yeah, and I don't know, it's a strange one. There's a lot of locals who aren't necessarily craft beer people, and they'll drink Tui, Spates, whatever, but then they'll happily get on the Tigermilk because it's sort of become this Hawke's Bay thing,
iconic thing,
which is pretty awesome.
That's pretty interesting.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So just before we kind of wrap up, I just want to sort of kind of bring it around to, okay, so we talked about how you got to here, and we've talked about kind of the awesomeness of Tigermilk, but what does the future hold? Is there any?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah, very good question. I mean, we sort of go back and forth on this all the time. There's always you get on this adrenaline buzz sometimes when sales are really good, and we think about, maybe let's expand or do a second site or build a bigger production facility. But Gemma and I always sort of come back to just the idea of cruising where we are. We've got 2 young daughters. Spent 10 years building the business into where it is now, and it's been, like many small business owners would know, pretty intense and all-consuming. A lot of risk, a lot of sleepless nights, and a lot of satisfaction, but obviously also a bit of stress that goes along with that. So, we're finally sort of at a point where we're earning reasonable incomes, and we've clawed back a bit more work-life balance, and we're not here 24/7, and so we sort of don't really want to be in too much of a hurry to sort of go back to a point where we're getting a lot more debt and losing that,
a lot more time and sleep
time that we get with our children. So we just sort of thought, we're in this nice spot now where this tap room just really ticks along, and it's a cool spot for the locals, and the wholesale side of the business is sort of, it ticks along sort of, more or less at capacity, but we were able to really manage our customers and just keep it at a nice point where we're not overstretching ourselves and taking on too much. And
we feel incredibly lucky to be 10 years in, and we don't have a salesperson, which is crazy. When I'm organized enough and they're organized enough to give me some information, I'll send out a little stock mailer to a few wholesale customers across the country. But the beer sort of sells itself still, which feels like a real privilege. But also just having the tap room, I think, has been huge for us. But that hyper local notion, I think, has just served us super well through these really uncertain times. And COVID was huge. Hawke's Bay had a really devastating cyclone, which added all sorts of complexities. But of course, the brewing industry has just had it so tough in terms of tax rates and the CO2 crisis and the cost of goods just going up so exponentially that being this size has served us super well. We haven't had to try to move huge volumes of beer, and ultimately our local following has carried us through, which just feels so nice. So we get people actually getting in touch with us, and investors and different people wanting us to open sites or take on a different lease or set something up in a different part of the country and things like that quite regularly. It's really interesting, and it's super humbling that people perceive our brand to be strong enough to do those kinds of things, and maybe it's something, like you say, we'd look at doing down the track, but at the moment this just feels right for us and feels nice. Like you say, 10 years of enormously huge hours and hard work, and to get to a place where it's ticking along and feeling good is awesome. Yeah.
I think that's, it's great. I think I was talking to somebody recently who said, there's a great ego boost from seeing your beer on tap somewhere else, or people saying good things about it, but there's also satisfaction in knowing that your business is sustainable.
Absolutely.
And it's, everybody knows it's really tough times for breweries, for hospo and whatever, and to be in a position where you're where things are never I'm sure, ultra comfortable, but
Yes.
we can keep doing this.
Yeah.
For sure.
And we're still enjoying it. I see
Exactly. It's huge.
you seem to be enjoying what you're doing.
Yes.
No, yeah, that's the thing, and that's part of the reason for not taking that leap up to a bigger facility or something, is because we want to keep enjoying it. We don't want to lump extra stress on. It's so nice. I've actually just hired an accounts administrator. So until a few weeks ago, I've been doing all the businesses, day-to-day bookkeeping and admin. And so I'm in this really nice spot where I've just freed up a huge chunk of my week. And I'm like super excited to divert that time into, geeking out on beer a bit more and looking at more sort of recipe development and just sort of having a bit more fun in the brewery. And I think those are the sorts of things that are the first to drop away when you go through these big growth phases, eh?
Yes.
So yeah, it's about like staying this size presents other opportunities. We can focus on quality and R&D and just make sure we're still having fun and doing a good job.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I think a lot of business-minded people often ask us that question, and they expect us to talk about our plans for growth and total world domination of the tiger cow and things like that. But it surprises them, I think, when Matt or I turn to them and say, we actually just want to keep producing good quality beer. We want our team and our people to be happy and feel valued, and we want to sort of serve our community through our tap room, and that's ultimately our goal in doing what we're doing. Yeah, growth and all of that. I mean, it's nice, and we are seeing small organic growth. It feels nice to have a sustainable business, like you say, but to go big and make lots of beer and make lots of money, that's not the end game for us.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think we'll kind of draw it to a close. There, we could. There's a whole bunch of other things that I could talk about for hours, but and I'll have to come back down, and we can do it again some other time. But
Absolutely.
look, I really appreciate the welcome that you're giving us, and the taking time out of your day to spend with the chat. And I hope that the listeners enjoy this. I'm sure that they'll learn some things. So
nice
that's awesome.
Yeah, cool. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Well, that was honestly, that was fantastic. What a great couple. First of all, I love the way that they sort of story tell together, and just the way they've built their business, sort of slowly, carefully. That story of Matt sort of having to get out of the deal for the first venue, and losing a bit of money on it. And, it's just the decisions around the bottles, why they're doing that, why they're sticking with them, and just the whole staying small, staying hyper-local is the phrase. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Hey, we're kind of only a few episodes into this, and we've already had a couple of kind of instances of that same kind of thing. We were talking to Ralph at Three Boys, and again that similar, focus on the local market. Don't grow just for the sake of growing. Get to a size where you're happy and stick at it. I think it's a really interesting message, and it's really interesting to hear that from kind of two different parts of the country and two brewers at different stages of their journey, but both coming to the same kind of realization.
Yeah, I think the other thing is that I think it's a realization that's across the industry to an extent, where we sort of came through an area where there was like exponential growth for so long that there was an assumption that everyone would just keep growing. And I think now that the industry's in a settling in period and a bedding down, like there's been the huge growth, and now it's just like leveled out. And I think there's now an understanding that those 10 years or so of crazy growth is not the norm, you know.
Yeah.
And it's yeah.
And I think it's interesting that it's good for brewers to recognise that. But what is interesting is that the pressures from outside are still there. You know, I was fascinated that Matt and Gemma said, yeah, they get offers all the time from the banks, from real estate agents, from investors saying, "Oh, don't you want to get bigger?" And you know, that pressure is still there. So it's interesting that I think, you know, brewers are having to kind of hold that line and say, no, we're good with this, we're happy.
Yeah, exactly. Don't borrow any more money or buy anything with a high capital outlay that you don't really need. And you got to have a nice session in the tap room there. I've never been, and it's
you're missing out again. You know, that's I have to say, I was blown away by. So I got down there on a Sunday evening in kind of early winter in the Hawke's Bay, and it was pumping. You know, and that was surprising to me. I thought, you know, there'd be like a table or two of kind of diehards sat in the corner, but there was like an entire table with like 15, like about 3 or 4 families with kids of various ages, and there were people outside with dogs, and there were you know, it was a huge range, and I thought that was awesome, and the beers were great, and the you know, Tigermilk was tasting bang on form, but the thing that shocked me was that the best beer of the day was not Tigermilk, and it was Tall Story, I think it was called. It was a West Coast IPA, and that was absolutely. That was super. Obviously limited release. I don't think it's been seen much around the rest of the country. But yeah, so I am looking out for Brave in the Malthouse West Coast IPA Challenge, which is coming up.
That's going to be the next major thing on the agenda.
So we'll wrap up the results from that pretty soon, I think.
Yeah, not far away at all. Later this month. Hey, look, Martin, good on you for getting out and about, unlike me. And you deserve to put your feet up after sort of venturing to the Hawke's Bay and Oamaru in short succession. And next stop will be Beervana, and that's our next pod. Yeah.
Yeah. Look forward to and we had a great chat with Ryan McArthur from Beervana. That'll be coming up soon. And look, we're kind of 4 episodes into this now. Hopefully it's getting better. Hopefully everybody can see that we are still learning. I apologise for some of the audio quality on that Brave interview. It's amazing how much a $30 wireless microphone from Temu can achieve, but it has its limitations. So I have now upgraded. So look out for better audio in future. But if people do have suggestions, comments, feedback, we would love to hear it. I'm not quite sure how you get it to us. You can always email me directly, martin.bridges@beerbigwig.com.
Yep.
Or yourself, Michael?
Yeah, I'm Michael at hoppiness.co.nz. And yeah, you can comment on the the Spotify links, the YouTube links. I think Apple may allow comments, or maybe you can only give stars on Apple. I'm not really sure. Got a few 5-star reviews. Very happy about that. Yeah. Hey, look. Until next week, Martin. Absolute pleasure. Really enjoyed listening to that, and we'll catch you very soon.
Nice one, Michael. See you.